We're going to have much more now on the coronavirus and the videos flooding your children's social media feeds. Some of them may be helpful, but others confusing and some of them even frightening. Becky Worley took a look at what's being posted, and she's in San Francisco with more on this. Good morning, Becky.
Good morning to you, Amy. If your kids are online, they're hearing about the coronavirus. Social media is filled with contents that are informative but also scary. So here's what parents need to know. News about the coronavirus is everywhere.
Thank you for joining my Anthropology 1100 podcast, and you're here with your host, Roy Holder. I hope everyone's staying safe and everyone's staying quarantined, because today we have a lot to discuss. Today we'll be discussing about the coronavirus pandemic and how it affects everyone around us, including our healthcare workers, our teachers, our students, and other essential workers. At this moment, everything seems difficult right now, which it is. That's why I would like to give a special shout out to all our teachers who are making sure that these children are still being educated even though that they're at home right now. Our essential workers who's making sure that we have all of our essentials, like our groceries. And we can't forget to give a shout out to our healthcare workers who are risking their lives at this moment trying to save ours. We need to give them the recognition that they deserve, because at this moment they are our true heroes. So moving on forward, we are now going to start our podcast. At this point, I'm pretty sure that everyone is familiar with the coronavirus, so I will not be going in on too much on what it is. Today we are here to discuss how it changed society and how people are dealing with the adjustments. So let's talk about the coronavirus. The coronavirus, which surfaced in a Chinese seafood and poultry market last year, has spread to at least 177 countries, killing more than 165,000 people and sickening more than 2 million in a matter of months. After the World Health Organization declared the situation a pandemic, coronavirus is now a global issue. The United States, like many other nations, had a huge hit by the coronavirus. But ever since the COVID-19 outbreak, groceries, tissues, hand sanitizers, and other essential items are now becoming limited, mainly because people are panicking and they are shopping without considering others. This is a difficult time for everyone because businesses are being shut down, people are being laid off work, people are even being fired. There are also people who are being evicted from their homes because they cannot pay rent or their mortgage because they have no job. In a nation that is considered to be one of the richest and most powerful, we shouldn't have to go through all of this. We shouldn't have to worry about workers risking their lives to work just to earn money to pay their bills. That is just to show you how we are living in a country where the economy is more valuable than someone's life. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with the stimulus checks that the government handed out a few weeks ago. Yeah, can you imagine that the government actually believed that $1,200 would be enough for someone who's without a job because they lost their job due to the coronavirus? They have to pay their bills, have to buy groceries, pay mortgage and rent. Like, they actually believe that this offering $1,200 just once would make up for people being evicted. As a New Yorker, I'm sure that other New Yorkers can relate that money wasn't enough. People have to pay their bills, mortgages, and afford groceries monthly, and a simple $1,200 is not enough. After doing research, a recent survey from Simply Wise Retirement Income Technology Company found that 63% of the respondents said they will need another stimulus check within the next 3 months. Our government need to do better and consider other people who are not documented citizens in America. How are they surviving? They have no job and they cannot receive any stimulus checks because they cannot file their taxes. Although they're undocumented immigrants, they are still humans and they deserve to be treated the same way as every American. Before moving on, here with me I have Delroy Jerick, who is an essential worker at Walmart and Home Depot. Today he will be explaining what it is like being an essential worker who have to work throughout the global pandemic. Thank you for being here, Delroy. How are you feeling today?
I'm fine, hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm fine myself. I'm glad that you're fine. I see that you're preparing to go to work. Are you ready for work?
Yes, I'm ready for work.
Work must be different now due to the coronavirus. What are some changes that are new to work?
Some changes that are new to work is that we have to wear masks and we have to wear gloves more often than usual.
But that's good though, because that's to show how your workplace is making sure that your health comes first, like by offering you these equipments to stay safe. That's a good thing on their part. Are there a lot of customers who still come out to shop, even though that we're supposed to be quarantined? Like, are there a lot of customers coming out to shop now?
Yes, there are a lot of customers that come out to shop now because now that we're in this global pandemic and everyone is trying to get groceries and stuff like that.
I see that. I was watching the news and I saw how the shelves are being empty now. Like, we can't get toilet paper, we can't get groceries. Like, these stuff are becoming limited now. But do you feel safe going out there, or let's say like you're trying to feel safe by wearing your mask and gloves, but do you feel safe?
I'm trying to feel safe with my mask and gloves because I mean now you have to be extra careful and you have to be more, I can say more alert.
You have to be alert, exactly.
When you're doing,
you have to be alert, and we have to be aware also.
Yeah, when I'm at work, so I have to be alert.
But I know that you're trying to stay safe as possible, but how do you commute to work? Like, how do you travel? Do you use public transportation?
Yes, I use public transportation.
You use
I use the MTA bus.
MTA bus. Oh, okay. Yeah, most people commute to their jobs using public transportations like the train and the bus. But still, we need to be careful because we don't know who's touching what.
Right.
We also need to like wear our gloves and our masks because we're not the only ones on the bus.
Right.
Or the train. We need to take as much precaution as we can.
Yeah.
I know that you're working at Walmart and Home Depot. How does it feel working 2 jobs during the coronavirus pandemic?
Working 2 jobs is hard because I have to balance my time.
Of course.
And also I deal with different customers.
And it increases the risk,
and
right?
it can increase the risk of me having COVID-19.
But you still have to be careful though.
Yes, I have to be careful.
Even though you're dealing with all these customers, because Walmart might have these type of customers, but Home Depot might have a different type of customers.
Right.
So you have to you try to balance.
Yeah, I try to balance
and move accordingly.
Yes, I have to. I balance what I do, and I be more cautious in what I do.
You have to.
Right.
How would you compare Walmart to Home Depot? Like, who has more customers at this time?
At this time period, I think that Walmart has more customers.
Oh, really?
Yes, because Walmart has a lot of people go there to grocery shopping and
I see.
Buying papers, tissues.
Yeah, and Walmart has all these things.
Right. And we don't have as much customers as we do at Home Depot because there's not a lot of people going there to get equipments and essential stuff.
I see. That makes sense. I'm sure that you're familiar with the stimulus checks that were giving out a few days ago, right? Did you receive any stimulus checks from the government?
No, I did not receive any stimulus check from the government. Yes.
But you're an essential worker.
Right.
Okay, but even if you did receive that stimulus check,
right,
how would you think that you will benefit from it? Do you think it's enough to support you?
I think that it's not enough to support me because I have to pay bills and I also have to pay rent, and my rent is really expensive. It's like $1,000.
It is $1,000, really?
Right.
Some people they're paying like $1,400 because it is expensive to live in New York.
Right.
And $1,200, can that even?
And that's not enough because also I have a family that I have to take care of.
Of course.
So it's not enough.
Because people have responsibilities.
Right.
Delroy, what I wanted to ask you was, at your jobs, right? Do they make it mandatory to wear masks and gloves? Like, is it mandatory, or you take the action off your own and be like, you know what? Let me do my part. Let me wear gloves and masks.
At my job, I think it's mandatory because you're trying to be safe at the same time. So you're trying to. And
not to only you,
but to others also.
To others, yeah.
Right. You're not trying to increase the spread of COVID-19. So
exactly.
You're trying to.
Because we all have to play our part, even though it's little. We all have to play our part, do our jobs, and together we can reduce the risk of COVID-19 being spread.
Yes.
But I see though, because times like these, wearing masks and gloves indeed makes a huge difference because it can reduce the spread
of COVID-19.
Exactly. Well, I know you must head out now, so this will be the end of our interview. I wish we had more time, but I want to say thank you so much for your time and have a good work. Stay safe, Delroy.
All right, thank you for having me.
No problem. As a New Yorker, I remember visiting Target on Flatbush Junction and couldn't even purchase paper tissue, water, nor a bottle of Lysol because the shelves were empty. Truthfully, in the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak, I myself was not taking it seriously, and I'm sure others can admit to this. But it got to a point where all of this wasn't funny anymore. The memes, the jokes, and all of those funny videos that you will see on the internet making fun of the coronavirus. This pandemic is serious, and we should all take it seriously. According to the CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it illustrates that as of April 21st, there are now over 800,000 confirmed cases with 44,000 deaths in America. Comparing this statistic in the beginning of the pandemic, we are experiencing a decrease in confirmed cases and deaths. This is good news, and we should all play our part and stay quarantined to keep reducing these numbers. Now that we got all of that information out there, let us begin talking about how society changed since the coronavirus outbreak. There are now online classes for students, people are being laid off work, lack of groceries, and unemployment rate is increasing. Today on this episode of Anthropology 1100, our main focus will be on students and workers and how they are being affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The nation's unemployment rate was 3.5% in February, a half-century low, but that has likely risen already to 5.5%. Also, a record of 3.3 million Americans applied for unemployment benefits. There is no doubt that the economy is going to crash, because it will. People are out here losing their jobs and being laid off work. As a college student who work and go to school, I am unable to work because the after-school program that I worked is now closed because the school is shut down. I have no income at the moment, and just like everyone else, I have responsibilities. Not everyone has essential jobs. Most people earn their money by having stores, salons, barbershops, and other businesses. Similar to workers who are struggling to adapt to the changes in the COVID-19 pandemic, We often tend to forget about students as well. As a college student who is now taking online courses, I am here to testify that this whole process is challenging. It is challenging for students like myself because we now have to get into the habit of doing everything online. Not many students may have access to a laptop or computer at home. These are factors we have to consider before taking any actions. The Grab and Go program by Mayor Bill de Blasio is a great program to add to the school's shutdown plan because hundreds of thousands of public school students depend on free breakfast and lunch offered at their school. The Department of Education made it clear that 14,000 meals were distributed last Monday, and leftover food that is non-perishable will be kept in an inventory with the remainder to be donated. School Chancellor Richard Carranza also mentioned that another issue was getting internet access to families who weren't online. He also included that, according to the city comptroller, more than 917,000 households lack broadband digital access as of 2017. We know that some houses may not have Wi-Fi. We are working with companies that are going to give free Wi-Fi during this crisis. Those were the words of School Chancellor Richard Carranza. The shift of having remote learning is not only challenging for students, but it is also a burden for teachers and college professors across the nation. Most teachers are not familiar with the technological advancements, and this becomes difficult for them to adapt to this new learning environment. Also, most of our teachers are parents, and they also have to deal with their children, with their online classes, as well as having their material ready for their students. This can become a burden because putting myself in a teacher's shoes, I myself will feel pressured. Today we have a New York City State teacher who's also my aunt by the name of Tessa Frank, and she will be sharing her experience as a high school teacher during this global pandemic in our interview. First off, I want to say thank you, Ms. Tessa Frank, for joining our podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Roy, and yourself?
I'm doing okay. Just trying to stay safe.
Yes, everyone.
You've been a teacher for quite some time now. How long have you been teaching?
Well, I've been teaching for almost 20 years. I actually started teaching around November 11th, 2000. So this November will be 20 years since I'm teaching.
20 years.
Yes.
It's a very long time.
Very long indeed.
I'm sure that you miss your students during this time due to the coronavirus.
Well, as a teacher, I'm a classroom teacher, and I think that's one of the reasons I never get into administration because, I enjoy the interaction with the student. So at times like these, yes, you're very sad that you're not there to help them.
It's difficult.
To see them, and because I'm sure the kids actually miss going to school, believe it or not. A lot of them quite miss their interaction themselves.
When you were told that teachers would have to move to remote learning, what was your reaction? How did you feel at that moment?
I felt nervous, scared. Nervous because not all, especially the older teachers, are not that well versed with a computer, with technology. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of those teachers who are not that versed in technology. So when I heard Google Classroom, even though I am a little familiar with the Google Docs, when I heard Google Classroom, I was very nervous about that because I'm thinking, how are my students going to learn and how am I going to figure out all of this technology?
You've been teaching for 20 years now. Then it's way different from now because now we have all these technological advancements.
Exactly, because when I started teaching, it was chalkboard. It wasn't even the whiteboard, it was actually the chalkboard.
This is show you how things evolve eventually.
Exactly.
Do you think that other teachers like your colleagues were happy with this new approach in our educational system?
Well, the majority of the people that I spoke with at the time, they were not happy with this approach. Some of them were happy with the approach because, for safety purposes.
Yeah.
But in terms of being away from the students, that was not something I think that most people were happy about.
What are some difficulties that you're facing right now as a teacher?
Well, right now is that even though you try to explain things to your students over the phone, or even though sometimes you try to FaceTime them and explain things, it's very hard because a lot of times, even though yes, the student learn from the teacher, but I think a lot of times is that the student learn from each other. And in class, we usually have a lot of group work.
Group assignments.
Yes, and the students actually sit in a cooperative learning setting. And with this, it's very difficult.
Because they're not very social.
No, they're not being social at all, and they're not learning from each other. They're not helping each other, and that's what they're accustomed to.
I can only imagine how difficult it is adjusting to this new learning environment. But despite the challenges, what were some ways that you were able to adapt and to adjust?
Well, one of the ways that I was able to adapt and adjust is that one of the things that I did is that I made my students very accessible to me.
Okay.
And with the remote learning, I realized that students will not get up on time. So I was able to adjust to working late because I know some of them actually wake up maybe probably around 1 o'clock. So what I decided to do is to extend my hours for those people who actually get up late. So that's one of the adjustments, to actually work at a longer time.
Okay. But what are some routines that help you prepare for teaching your online classes?
Well, one of the routines that I do is just like a regular setting in a regular classroom. When I say regular classroom, you have to have your lesson plan.
Of course.
So that's something that I always have. My lesson plan. I have my schedule. I will dedicate a certain amount of time to certain classes. But even though you plan that way, it's very hard because sometimes one kid may need one-on-one assistance, and that one-on-one assistance may take 1 hour.
That's true.
So it's not the same. So that's some of the things that you have to be flexible on.
You have to. I know that most high school students are probably happy with the idea of staying home, but do you think this hurts students' learning, or it some way help them by being more responsible, by doing their schoolwork, like taking ownership to do their work?
Well, I think people may think that a lot of the high school students are happy, but the ones that I've spoken to, they're not. A lot of them say, I miss my friends, right? I miss my friends. I'm not able to have lunch with my friends because a lot of the students actually depend on the school lunch. Believe it or not, a lot of them depend on the school lunch. So as a result of them not going to school, they're not able to have lunch. Wow. Some of them, they're the only child at home. So when they're at home now with their parents, who are they talking with? Who can they socialize with? So school is not just about the learning process, it's also about socializing.
Exactly.
And with that, I think quite a few of them are not happy with the remote learning because of those purposes. Yes, they may take ownership, but what about the kids that you have to be behind them all the time?
They need that one-on-one attention.
Yes, not just one-on-one, but they need the golden, the constant reminder. So for those kinds of students, I think it's very hard for them. So they don't like being at home because they tell me plain. They said, I wish I can be in the classroom.
Wow. And did you spoke to any students that had this problem or this challenge that they can't function properly at home because they don't feel as motivated? Or are there any students?
I had that today. One of the kids told me, Miss Frank, yes, you're my teacher and I learn from you, but I also learn a lot from my peers.
Wow.
I like when I work in the group assignment. I like when I work with Aisha, she helps me. Or I like when I work with Kirk, he actually helps me. So a lot of times they may be shy to ask you things, like little simple things. They may think, okay, it's a simple thing, so I don't want to ask the teacher that.
But they feel comfortable asking their friends.
Exactly, they feel comfortable asking their classmates.
As a student, I could relate to that. Like sometimes I might not able to ask my professor because she's busy carrying on with the lesson, but I might, sneak a friend, like ask them because I'm more comfortable, and you have that connection better because you both are like you have that understanding.
Okay. I don't think it's that the kids don't want to ask the teacher because the teacher's busy doing something. As I think sometimes they may see it as a very simplistic question, and they may not want to ask that teacher that question because they may say, okay, it's so simple. I don't want to raise my hands and ask that question. So they prefer to ask someone who's sitting right next to them.
As a teacher, how does it feel knowing that some students may be at home but still cannot manage to get their work done or get it done on time?
It's very sad because some kids don't have the assistance at home.
True.
And the populations that I deal with is a predominantly ELL population. And when I say ELL, I mean English language learners. So for those kids who have been in this country maybe 1 year, 2 years, it's very hard for them. They don't have the resources anymore. Like some of them probably go to resource room to, for the teachers to give them one-on-one. Some of them would have a lot of visuals that the teacher may assist them with. And being at home, parents themselves don't speak any English. So it's very hard for those kids. So I see it as, even though the remote learning sounds good, I think it's a disservice to a lot of the students. Some of them don't even have technology.
Yeah.
And if they do have technology, some of them have 6 siblings and they only have 1 technology.
It's very difficult.
How are they going to get it done?
Because they'll have to share that one device. And
yes.
It can be difficult. Do you try on not being too harsh when it comes to the grading policy, or do you flex? Because we know that we're in a pandemic and students, like you said, most students may not have the chance to access a laptop or a tablet. They don't have Wi-Fi. Do you try to flex with the grading policy?
But you have to, because even though I have a classroom rules and regulations since September, and I have a grading policy, since September, I cannot use those grading policies. Why? Because the student sometimes are basically teaching themselves. And if I'm teaching myself and I'm submitting my work on a regular basis, how can I say, okay, this is just 75? I think each kid should be given extra points because of the fact that they're trying.
It's the effort.
Yes.
It's the effort.
And for the most part, they're doing it correct. So I commend them for that.
Do you at least, I know that you cannot be there one-on-one with them, but do you try to send out links, like YouTube links, to help them with, for example, you were a history teacher, do you send out
Yeah, well, a lot of times we actually give videos. So, I would ask them to use videos. I would actually send out most times templates. For example, if I'm given an essay, an enduring issue essay, because that's a topic for the regions this year that was supposed to be the enduring issue. So I would actually give them templates and that. I'd give them a lot of scaffolding. So a lot of scaffoldings are given to them at this particular time. So this particular time, I'd hope to remove the scaffolding if you were in the classroom. But now we have to give those scaffolding back to the students because the teachers are not there to assist them in a one-on-one.
At times like these, it is nice how teachers can empathize with students and be there with them throughout this process. And on behalf of all students, I want to say thank you. But what I wanted to ask you was, how are you keeping up with the news? How often do you watch the news?
Well, a lot of times my students are the news. Because when I talk to my students, sometimes I'm going to hear, Miss Frank, I couldn't finish my work because my uncle passed. I couldn't finish the work because my father passed. I couldn't finish the work because my grandmother passed.
That's sad.
Right? It is very, very sad because my population, a lot of them, they live as an extended family. So if one person is infected, the entire house gets infected. One kid even told me, Miss Frank, my uncle was infected, but we couldn't let him in the house.
Wow.
So we actually locked him out and he had to return to Elmer's hospital because he was infected. And we were so scared. So yes, you're affected by the news a lot, but I actually get the news from a lot of times my students because the news, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel CNN, different things like that.
Fox.
I think sometimes the news is just a very depressing situation.
It is.
It gives you a lot of negativity.
And it gives you anxiety too.
Yes.
Because when you watch the news, they're not telling you how many people are being they're telling
recovered,
you,
right?
yeah, they're telling you all the deaths, but they're not telling you how much people are being recovered from this virus.
Well, I don't think they're actually telling you all the deaths. I think one of the things that they do is that they're not reporting the death. For example, you may hear like, let's say you heard that 200 people died. It may not be 200, it may be 300, because when the people die at home or sometime in the nursing homes, they don't report all of those deaths. So I think a lot of times they underplay that.
Wow.
Right? So the news, as you said, it can cause panic attacks. So I try my best not to watch the news when it comes to COVID. I try to watch other things. I watch the History Channel, or I watch American Idol or something that's very entertaining. Yes.
Yeah. Well, since you watch the news and you get like news feedbacks from your students, are you familiar with the stimulus checks that was handed out a few weeks ago?
Yes, I'm familiar with the stimulus checks. Well, like I said, I enjoy watching MSNBC, and MSNBC did talk about the stimulus check. I think it was actually $1,200. $1,200 were given to most households.
Yeah.
And every child under the age of 17 actually received $500.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did.
I wasn't familiar with that.
Well, you didn't receive one because you're beyond 17 years old, so you didn't get one.
I wasn't familiar with that.
But if you were 17, you would have gotten $500. So once your family actually filed taxes, you were given that $1,200. And if they did not file this year or they filed last year, they were still given that money. So I think it was a good thing, good gesture by Congress and the president. But even though it was a good gesture, that $1,200 cannot do much.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask you, like, personally, do you believe that $1,200 is enough for anyone? Because, I mean, we are in New York, and it is very expensive to live in New York.
Well, I think regardless of where you are, that $1,200 wouldn't be enough, because if you think of it, a lot of people are laid off.
Yeah.
A lot of the students' parents that I deal with, because they're actually restaurant workers, the day workers, the construction workers. So right now they don't have any jobs. So if the average rent in New York City for a basement apartment is about $1,200 minimum. Wow. And that's a basement apartment. A 2-bedroom apartment is $1,600. So yes, the governor mentioned that, your rent would be delayed and you cannot be put out. But what about your food? So even though you're not paying that rent, you still need money to buy
groceries.
Food.
We have to buy groceries, and we can't forget that we have to pay our bills too.
Exactly. And for my students, a lot of the students that I deal with is the illegal population.
Yeah.
So with the illegal population, they're not collecting any food stamps, no subsidies or anything of the sort. So if the parents are not working, where are they going to get food?
It's difficult.
And $1,200 cannot. How far is that going to go? Everything right now raised. So a bottle of water that used to be $1 is actually $2.
The prices are getting expensive, and with students who cannot afford to eat at home and the schools being shut down, well, there's now a grab-and-go program that students can now pick up free meals at school. Yeah,
but even though you have to grab and go, what meal are they giving you? They're not giving you hot meals.
Exactly.
So the grab and go meal is a peanut butter sandwich. A peanut butter sandwich that was prepared 2 or 3 days before. So even though the school has mentioned to you that they will give you free lunch, it's not a hot lunch that the kids were accustomed to in the school. Sometimes in school the kids would get rice, right? They would get a burger and things like that, even soup.
Wow.
But now all you're getting is basically a peanut butter sandwich or a tuna sandwich and milk.
And a bag of apple.
And the thing is, the students would not want to do the grab and go for lunch because they're scared to go outside.
Go outside, exactly, because they're not trying to increase the risk, because when they go outside, they got to think about coming in.
Exactly.
And they might have grandparents, grandmothers, grandfathers.
Yes. You're right about that.
You're a teacher who's working at home, and you're trying your best in every way that you can. How do you feel about workers, unlike yourself, who have to go there and risk their lives? Like, for example, our healthcare workers.
Well, I commend those healthcare workers, because my cousin actually is a nurse at Bellevue Hospital, and she told me that I have to work at least 4 days a week. Wow. And she takes the train every day.
The train?
The train. She takes the train.
That's very risky.
Yeah, very risky indeed. She takes the train or she takes the bus, and she has to go every day. And I commend those workers. And one thing she had mentioned to me is that they do not call out sick, because if you do call out sick, you're considered an essential worker, right?
You are essential.
So you have to produce a doctor's note. So what time are you going to have to go to your doctor?
You don't have the time, because most of the time.
And if you don't have that note, the pay is actually deducted. But I don't think it's just the pay for them, but I think for the most part is a dedication, and I admire them for risking their lives for that, because that's what they do every day. The fact that they're actually dealing with corona patients, the fact that they know that these patients, or have the virus, and they're still tending to them, I think those are workers that really needed to be commended.
They are. They need to be recognized, because those workers, they have families too, and they go to work trying to save other people, not knowing that they have families at home, and they coming right back to their families.
And that's exactly what happened to quite a few of them. A lot of healthcare workers actually were infected and brought it back home to their family. And I actually know someone, a family member.
Oh, really?
Really, a family member who actually worked in a nursing home. She was infected. I took it home to her mom at 76 years old, who was infected, and the mom actually died.
The mother passed away.
This happened 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago. This situation is not funny, because earlier when the outbreak had first happened, on the internet there was a lot of funny videos, memes making fun of the virus, but now we're seeing it in full reality. Like, this is not a joke anymore. This is real life. This is happening.
Well, if you think of it as a student of history, and you know that, it takes me back to the Black Plague.
Exactly.
If you go all the way back to the Black Plague around 1347, you go back to the Spanish flu in 1918. So these are things that did happen. It's like history repeating itself. And the surprising thing, what's so surprising to me, is that we weren't able to contain it. At this day and age, and with the technological advances that we have.
We do.
I just find it devastating that we were not able to. When the Black Plague happened, it hit Italy very bad. I mean, you're talking about almost 25 million people died.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people indeed.
But what I feel like, I think we weren't prepared. Like, we weren't ready for this. Even though that we're considered one of the most wealthy and most powerful country, United States, we should have been prepared for this. Situation like these, we have to be prepared.
I don't think it's a matter of prepared. I think it's a matter of people not believing what it was.
Yeah.
Or not knowing what it was. Ignoring what it was. So I think if people, pay attention and they were taking some advice, they can heed. Because partly a task force was put together about 5 years ago by the previous president. That if something like this happened, that we would be, things would be in place. And we were told that a lot of this was dismantled. I don't know how true it is, but we were told that a lot of this was actually dismantled. The task force wasn't dismantled totally. So like maybe you're right what you just said. Maybe you're right that we were not prepared.
Because from my standpoint, I feel like the government their main focus right now is the economy. It is like the economy is more valuable than the people, because the president is forcing people to go to work and trying to open up back states, and not knowing that this situation is deadly.
Well, I think what it is that if you think of it, 4 years ago when the president ran, one of the slogan was "Make America Great Again." And when he said "Make America Great Again," I mean, you can take it whichever way you want, but I think one of the things is that Donald Trump, as you know, is a business person, he's a businessman. And as a businessman, it's going to be money first. It's always going to be money.
Yep.
So I think he feels that if he gets the economy back, because those are people who actually supported him. If he gets the economy back, I think he's going to get the votes.
Yeah.
So yes, that's what it seems like to me. It seems like money over people. That's what it seems like.
Especially with our healthcare workers, it's like the money is being more, the economy is having all the attention, while the healthcare workers are being pushed away from the light. And I feel like as a society, we should always give teachers and healthcare workers the recognition that they deserve, because they are our true heroes.
I don't think the healthcare workers are being pushed back, because I mean, every time I watch the news, I see how the healthcare workers are being treated with just a lot of respect. So I don't think they're being pushed back.
No, I'm talking about as of now, though.
Now
They're actually getting the recognition, but before they weren't.
Well, when you think of it in society, who usually the people who people look a lot of time as their role models. Mm-hmm. It's not usually. If you ask somebody a lot of times, what is it you want to be?
Basketball player.
Somebody who makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's always somebody who makes a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying that healthcare workers do not make a lot of money, because as a nurse practitioner, they make over $100,000 a year. A registered nurse, I think, makes about $90,000 a year. LPN probably $50,000 a year. So, I think when it says business or not, when I said business, I think Donald Trump is saying that if the economy is good, people are going to say, well, look, he brought the economy back. Mm-hmm. Look what great he's doing.
That looks good on his resume for
re-election.
re-election.
Yes, it looks good. But, like you said, they may say, well, look how many lives lost. But yes, lives are going to lose regardless of. But then they're going to say, well, one good thing he did is that he brought the economy back. So I think he's pandering more to the big business people. That's what he's doing. Because he's not looking at the poor man. He's looking at the farmers. I think that's what he's looking at, because those were his supporters. He's looking at most likely the automobile industry. Those were his supporters. He's looking at the farmers, the car industry, the auto industry. I think I said that.
He's mostly focused on the big business.
Yeah.
So
the airlines and things like that.
So the voice of the people, I think at this point, he's more focused on the economy, not on what people are trying to say or people's safety. Because in my opinion, he's not focusing on people's safety right now, but the economy.
That's one of the reasons why we're in this situation, because if he was taking advice from the professionals, if he was taking advice from the experts, I don't think we would have gotten to this situation, because I don't think the world would have gotten to this situation, because, as you know, the America is the police of the world. Mm-hmm. And if we're not policing something, if we're the police of the world and we're not taking charge, every other country is going to falter. And that's exactly what I see happening in this situation.
And that is why I said that we weren't as prepared, because if we had a solid foundation prepared for something like this to happen, mm-hmm. we would have been 20 steps ahead.
You're right.
We would have been 20 steps ahead.
You're right. I stand to be corrected. You're right about that.
We would have been 20 steps ahead. So, I would like to wrap up our interview. Mr. Frank, I want to say thank you for sharing, and we appreciate you. Remember to stay safe and stay quarantined. And on that note, happy Teachers Appreciation Day.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you, Mr. Holder, but not Appreciation Day, but thank you for the interview, to recommending me, or you selected me.
No problem.
And stay safe yourself.
All right, thank you.
And just
so
make sure you practice all the safety tips that the government actually provided.
Of course.
Like wearing your mask while you're outside, and your glove and everything.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Frank. Well, guys, there you have it. And now that our podcast is coming to an end, I want to say thank you for listening. And I hope this podcast shined the light on issues that we really need to be focused on, and motivate us to take this pandemic serious. Remember to wash your hands, stay quarantined, and most importantly, do not lose hope. We are in this together. And on that note, stay safe, stay blessed. It's been a pleasure.